Joining me now is Maryland Congressman and former federal prosecutor Glenn Ivey. He is a member of the Appropriations and Ethics Committees. Congressman, welcome back to the show. So before we get to Abrego Garcia, I do want to get your reaction to President Trump ordering as many as 2,000 California National Guard troops to L.A. to assist with the immigration enforcement amid those protests that are going on there. Governor Gavin Newsom said that the order is purposefully inflammatory. What's your reaction?
Well, I think as your prior panel was saying, I mean, it's an extreme overreaction. I just want to note one thing quickly. Before I was elected to Congress, I was in private practice, and I represented people who were arrested during the 2017 inauguration protests, and one who was, prosecuted during the Lafayette Square protests. All of those people, almost across the board, were either acquitted or the charges were dropped. So I think it's just this is the third time it looks like where he's going to try and overstep the law. Hopefully we won't have to wait until it gets to a jury to clear it up. But that's par for the course for him.
Something you're obviously very familiar with. Okay. You went to El Salvador a couple of weeks ago to try to check up on Abrego Garcia while he was in prison there. You were stonewalled in your attempts to meet with him. What is your response to the administration's decision to bring him back to the U.S. after months of defying court orders to facilitate his return?
Well, ultimately, I guess the rule of law prevailed, but they certainly had to be forced into a corner before that happened. I mean, I used to prosecute MS-13, and the way you went about it was you didn't deport him first and then try and indict him later. You indicted him if you had the evidence, moved forward with the case, got the conviction, got the sentence, had them serve out the sentence in jail, and then you deported him. I think what happened here was they deported him first, realized they'd made a mistake, as they admitted up front, and then tried to find ways to clean it up. And that's what this indictment in large part's about. I think we'll see how it stands up when it finally gets to court. But at the end of the day, they know they went about this the wrong way, and the American people need to know that too. And the other big point is Senator Booker was just stating, there's still hundreds of people who've been deported along these lines who haven't gotten their due process. And there are other judges, whether it's the Supreme Court or some of the lower circuit judges, who've said, bring them back, give them their day in court. Doing this to Kilmar doesn't fix all of those. They have to make sure they comply with the law in every case where this has taken place and every time there's a court order.
When you say cleaning it up on behalf of the administration, is it because they bought time to find charges? Because we know he is facing federal criminal charges for human trafficking. The Justice Department accuses him of being an MS-13 member who transported thousands of undocumented immigrants into the U.S. for profit. His attorney has called these charges baseless and preposterous. But what do you make of the charges and the amount of resources the DOJ has put into investigating him?
Yeah, great question. I mean, if you remember back to Attorney General's press conference, when they asked her, when did you start this investigation? She avoided answering that question. And I think it's pretty clear that it didn't start happening until probably after the Supreme Court said, you need to facilitate his return. And it was clear that the courts weren't just going to, let this slide. So they found this as an out. I honestly believe that's what happened. We'll see how it plays out. But there's another matter here. In the Eastern District of New York, you've got actual MS-13 leaders who are being prosecuted. Some of them are being sent back to El Salvador without being prosecuted. They were facing criminal charges. I think it's a RICO case up there. So you got, Kilmar, who was deported first, and then the charges were brought. But then you've got people in New York, it looks like, who were indicted, but then they're going to send him back to El Salvador without prosecuting him. It's hard to really make sense of that being the appropriate prosecutorial approach to handling these cases.
Let's switch gears here and turn to the public spectacle of President Trump and Elon Musk's falling out. What do you, sir, believe instigated this breakup? And does Musk really care about the federal deficit? Is he angry about losing the EV tax breaks in the Republican spending bill? Or do you think there's something else going on here?
The battle of the divas, I'm not really sure, what to make of it. And I've never met either one of these men. And got to say, I don't have a lot of respect for either one of them either, especially the way they've been behaving during this. But I think the things that Musk has been saying about the president's bill, the Republican bills, I think those are right. They are an abomination. They are going to add probably between $3 and $5 trillion to the national debt. And the arguments that certainly House Republicans have been making are clearly contradicted, not just by Elon Musk, but the Wall Street Journal, the CBO, Moody's. I mean, just across the board, everybody says that's going to be the impact of that. And the public, I hope they're not being fooled by what the Republicans are trying to sell them in order to pass this bill.